Yo, 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 good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you are watching this, man. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Unbiased Sports Conglomerate. This is your guy, CJ, the CEO of the USC. This is a new spin I'm giving to my channel. A lot of people have been asking me, man, for months and months to add a sports component. A lot of people saying, kind of take a liking to like some of my sports opinions. And they was like, man, you need to do that on YouTube. I was like, man, for the longest time, I was like, nah, my platform is kind of different. I like sports. I love sports. But I don't really want to talk about sports on YouTube because I felt like the sports media game is very oversaturated, right? But in the fact that it's oversaturated, you have a lot of sports platforms that kind of mimic what the mainstream media talks about, right? So when I look around, even guys I know who have smaller like sports channels and sports pages, even they mimic what they hear on ESPN. They mimic what they hear in the Associated Press, or like what the media is kind of saying. So I was really looking around for a smaller sports media, uh, platform that spoke from an unbiased standpoint. They just spoke black and white what it really was, and was bold enough to stand on that, even if it goes against what the general consensus says, right? So I created the Unbiased Sports Conglomerate to kind of offset a lot of the media dick riding that's going on. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm going to talk about the NBA playoffs today, man. And this is a playoff series that there's a lot of playoff series that's really showing the NBA making a return. I mean, the viewership for the first round in the NBA playoffs this year has been astronomical. It's been like really high in years past. So it's good to see the NBA making a comeback, man. Let's get started over in the Eastern Conference. You have the 1-8 matchup, Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat. I didn't really expect too much coming into this round here per se. Miami, traded Jimmy Butler at the deadline and everything. And the second half of their season was really just trying to recreate their identity. You still got Bam, you still got Tyler Hero. But if you are a team looking to compete for a world championship, you're going to need more than Bam and Tyler Hero to compete. I think Bam on the championship team has to be the second best player. But with him being their 1A option, they may thrive, right, going into the playoffs. I thought they would at least win one game. Cleveland is clearly hands down the best team in the Eastern Conference on paper, so I can't take anything away from them. Darius Garland is struggling with a foot injury right now, so we're going to see how they're able to sustain with him out. He's day to day. A good thing about the Cavaliers, though, is that they have Ty Jerome as the backup point guard. So if you do have to lose a Garland they really don't need him against the Miami Heat in round one. Like, I think this is going to be a sweep. They're currently up 3-0 against Miami. So, Jerome can kind of carry the torch until, Darius Garland gets back. Make no mistake, as great as a backup option at the point guard that Jerome is, Darius Garland is the best point guard on this roster here. And it's really good as a fan, to see teams kind of put it together in the playoffs. Cleveland is one of those teams that they have every component of a starting five that you really need in the modern game. They got the defensive rim protecting guys in the paint. They got Jared Allen. They got Evan Mobley, who are some really big physical the guys at the 4 and 5. That trade for DeAndre Hunter at the deadline was crazy impactful for them. So yeah, I had Cleveland winning this series 4-1 going in. It looks like it's going to be a sweep unless Miami could steal game 4. But yeah, let's go to the next matchup here in the Eastern Conference here, which is going to be Boston, Orlando. I thought Boston would take care of Orlando. Boston at the 2 spot, Orlando as the 7 seed. They last played, I want to say last night, they played Boston, wins 107-98. Orlando is one of those teams that I feel like they're a piece or two away at the veteran spot to where I think they can be a team that can do something in the Eastern Conference. Paolo is on his way to being the best four in the league. I think after Giannis, you really have to look at him as far as the best power forward in the NBA. Depending on like what positions you like to put guys at. I know Jason Tatum is listed as a 4, so you could say Jason Tatum. I see him like more as a 3 stretch 4, but I mean, hey. So Boston is what I call the best team in the Eastern Conference. I know Cleveland has the best record, but until Boston is knocked off that throne in the East, I see them as being the best team in the Eastern Conference. Orlando was able to steal one. You know, Tatum's going through his injuries. I still think Boston win this series 4-1. Let's go at number 3-6, which is very interesting, man. This is a very intriguing matchup. New York Knicks versus the Detroit Pistons. I really think that Detroit has grown leaps and bounds this season. I really believe that Bickerstaff has rebuilt this program and has accelerated the growth of a lot of their young guys. Jalen Duran is really playing insane this year. Cade Cunningham is really, really playing out of his mind. And he's done so this whole season. His growth has been crazy. He always had that superstar potential, but you know, sometimes those struggling organizations like the Detroits and the Sacramentos and the Brooklyns, the Utahs even right now, they have this thing to where they get great young talent and they kind of become a graveyard for young talent because they may not have the correct program in place to develop the young talent in a way that can really make them valuable options in the NBA. So it's really good to see Cade Cunningham coming to his own right now. It's going to be scary for the East for the next decade. He's just now scratching this the surface of his potential, but you got to give it to the New York Knicks. They had a dog fight yesterday, man, and the Knicks ended up winning 94-93 against Detroit, putting them up 3-1 against the Pistons, man. New York is very interesting because New York is one of those blue blood organizations, just how we just talked about Boston. New York, the NBA is more profitable when the New York Knicks are winning playoff series, right? And if you're Adam Silver, I'm sure you're paying close attention, and you know that if you can get a Boston or a New York to come out of the Eastern Conference, it's going to be really good for the NBA's bottom line, because when the Knicks are competitive and you have the city of New York, you know, the Big Apple, Madison Square is rocking. Madison Square Garden is normally a concert venue this time of year. Like, they're not used to, in recent history anyway, having the Knicks playing in the playoffs or going anywhere. Honestly, like normally, like when the season ends, the next year is over. So I'm sure it's refreshing to that New York brass to see that they still have some basketball to play. So that's really cool. 4-5 matchup in the East here, man. The Pacers are winning 3-1 right now. A lot going on with Milwaukee. Dame tried to come back. He re-injured himself in the last game, and he's going to probably be out for not just the rest of the playoffs, but he's going to probably miss a big portion of next NBA season. It looks like it's an Achilles so far. So, yeah, he missed the end of the NBA season, guys, with a blood clot. And, you know, guys who have had blood clots, Wemby had his season ended. Chris Bosh actually had to retire because he had a blood clot. So that's kind of scary, man. Dame, they did the big trade to get Dame to Milwaukee. On paper, you know, Dame and Giannis were going to be the 1-2 punch that was really like needed. And people forget Milwaukee won a championship a few years back with, you know, Middleton and, you know, Holiday and Giannis. And they added Dame Man to be like, this is how we're going to restock the cabinets and make ourselves better to make an easier championship run. So it's very disheartening to see, Dame go out. A lot of questions are going to be in place about Giannis. He says all the right things as a leader of a franchise. He says that he wants to be in Milwaukee and he wants to play there. And he's really just a heartbeat of that organization. But I will say also, I can't say the Bucks have done a great job of putting talent around Giannis. Yeah, they did the Dame thing, and like it takes a lot of capital to get a guy like Giannis and Dame on the same roster, but there's not a lot of talent on that team to where you could say, okay, I can confidently feel good if I'm Milwaukee ownership that Giannis is going to be part of this organization or want to be part of this organization for the long run. Dame is hurt. Gary Trent's kind of off and on. They have some young, scrappy guys. Andre Jackson is really good. Bobby Portis is getting a little older. Brook Lopez is still kind of hanging on, but I don't know if he's going to be there next season. So it's going to be a lot of turnover there. And take nothing away from Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton was voted most overrated by people in the media, people in the NBA, which I don't understand. I think Tyrese Halliburton is a top 10 point guard. I think he makes that Indiana organization go. Pascal Siakam is playing incredible basketball this offseason. This postseason. It's not the offseason yet, right? And Indiana is looking like they're going to be going on to the next season, the next series. So it's not offseason for them yet. He's playing really great. And he is someone who is really helping carry that Indiana roster that I was looking at in last year's playoffs and was kind of like, well, he's not. Last year, I don't think he contributed as much to the Pacers in the playoffs, but I can say this year he is really stepping up and he's giving them exactly what they need in the playoffs. So it's really good to see that. And then you have, let me see here. So yeah, I think the Pacers are going to win that series. I think Milwaukee may be able to get another game or two, but I do not see Milwaukee coming back and winning this series. Indiana is just playing with way too much fire right now. So you have that there. And then let's go to the Western Conference here. And this is where things get kind of interesting here. So let's start with the 1-8 matchup, right? The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies. This matchup right here, guys, going into it, I expected a sweep. I expected Oklahoma City to beat Memphis, of course, right? But I expected most games to be close. Now, I will say OKC won the series on Saturday on April 26th. They beat Memphis 117-115. That was how I expected the whole series to go. But if you know what happened in those first 1 to 2 to 3 games, Oklahoma City just mollywhopped the Grizzlies. I mean, game 1 and 2, it was just humiliation. It looked like a NBA franchise playing a junior varsity girls middle school team in the first 2 games. Like, I think they won by 60, maybe 50, but still, it's pretty bad. Then they came back and they won by 37 the next game. And game 3, Memphis decided that, hey, we're in the playoffs. We may want to play like it. And they were up 29 at halftime. And OKC still came back and won. And, as you know, Ja Morant got hurt in game 3. Lou Dort kind of did some weird thing where he just kind of stood under him as Ja was, elevating towards the rim, and he flipped and landed on his spine awkwardly. And of course, he was out for the rest of the series. But Ja Morant playing really didn't make a difference. Ja has a lot going on right now that I think he has to get figured out before next season, right? So this is a big offseason for the Grizzlies front office because you're going to have to make a decision on what you're going to do with Ja, right? Ja John Moran isn't the only issue in Memphis. Desmond Bain is a really serviceable two guard. Really didn't show up in the big moments. Jaren Jackson Jr., reigning defensive player of the year, quality all-star power forward for the Grizzlies. He's one of those guys, man, that's very, very frustrating to watch. 6'11", 250, but he plays like he's 5'7". Like sometimes I think he forgets that he's a legit 7 foot, 250, 60-pound big who can dominate if he wanted to, but he just has that thing where he just has to just, post out and camp out in the corner and shoot, unintelligent threes. And he doesn't know how to step up when the moment is big. So your big three down in Memphis with John Morant, Desmond Bain, and Jaren Jackson Jr., you're going to have to make some heavy decisions this offseason, right? All right, so and let me say this too, man. Oklahoma City is my favorite to win the Western Conference, right? And I think whoever they play in the East, they're going to be in for a complete dogfight. When I look at the Western Conference, the competition for them out west, I don't see anyone that can beat them in a 7-game series. The Houston Rockets are the 2 seed. Houston isn't beating Oklahoma City. I look at, Golden State, the 7 seed. They're not going to beat Golden State. I look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are killing the Lakers right now, 3-1. They're not going to beat Oklahoma City. They may give them the most competition out west, but they're not going to beat them. The Los Angeles Lakers would get swept. I mean, they would get annihilated by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, I don't even think those two teams are even comparable. I'm looking at Denver right now, who is in a complete slugfest, and I can't wait to get to that series in a second. Denver, the 4 seed, they're currently tied at 2 apiece with the Clippers. The Clippers, the 5 seed, they're tied with Denver right now. Neither of these teams, I believe, can beat Oklahoma City. I think from a matchup standpoint, I think Denver can probably give them a little bit more size. No Diddy. Denver can give them a little bit more size, but I don't think they can really beat them in a 7-game series. I'm looking at the Western Conference. No one is beating Oklahoma City. So the Western Conference champions are, until I'm proven wrong here, is going to beat Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's go to the 2-7 matchup. Very intriguing series. You got Draymond shoving Thompson into Jimmy mid-air. Jimmy's out for the rest of the playoffs. So now Golden State is looking like how Golden State looked before the Jimmy trade, right? But they're still playing some great basketball right now. Like, as long as you have Steph and Curry, you have a chance in the playoffs. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you have playing with him. You have a shot, right? And they played on Saturday. They beat Houston 104-93. So Golden State is up 2-1 in that series. The 3-6 matchup is very entertaining, I'll say. Coming into this series, I thought I had the Timberwolves in 6. After game 1, I dropped down to Timberwolves in 5. And I did so because of the sheer dominance that Minnesota plays with when they're tapped in, right? When the refs aren't working with LA and trying to get LeBron and Luka to the next round, you see how inefficient the Lakers offense is. And it's really blaring. And I was telling the guy, the Lakers are too small, right? And people were on me and like, oh, you just hate the Lakers. You hate LeBron. No, that's not the case. The Lakers are too small. In no basketball league is Dorian Finney-Smith a center. He's not a small ball center. Maybe if you're playing in a 35 and up YMCA league in Houston or in Miami or wherever. But in the National Basketball Association, a 6'7", 190-pound power forward, really small forward, right? He's not going to be an efficient center. I know they think this whole era of positionless basketball this is the way to go, but he's not a center. And Jackson Hayes is a guy who, if you're able to get him in pick and roll action away from the rim, he's a liability defensively, right? And they they did the moves in a year to get Alex Lynn. I think they got Trey Jamison, who was playing really good for my Memphis Grizzlies, but for some reason we gave up on him and we sent them to New Orleans. The Lakers could really benefit from a guy like that, but I don't know if he fits the rotation of what JJ's looking for. I know he wants to play smaller, but Minnesota is just, they're a juggernaut, man. And Anthony Edwards, whether or not he wants to be the face of the NBA or not, him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who should, by the way, be the league MVP, right? I didn't say that, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for OKC is the hands down most valuable player in the National Basketball Association. I don't think there's a real debate in that, right? But back to the 3-6, man. Minnesota can finish the Lakers off in 5 games. And all of the hype coming in about Luka and LeBron. And I really want to talk about this here, right? The reason why I thought the Dallas Mavericks won the trade and the Lakers lost the trade for Luka isn't because I dislike Luka. I think Luka offensively is a pretty good player, right? He's very inefficient, but he scores, he scores pretty easily. A defensive liability. He doesn't exist on the defensive end of the court. And that's something that is keeping the Lakers kind of paralyzed, right? As you're seeing right in front of us. They have a big defensive hole in the backcourt. And it's being shown because guess what? Anthony Edwards is a backcourt player, right? And now you have a technician at the point guard spot in Mike Conley, who's able to, like a surgeon, really break down that LA backcourt and help Edwards get to his spots. Even the bigs, like Nas is able to pop out. Julius Randle is able to play some point forward even. And because you don't have that defensive anchor in Anthony Davis in front of the rim, Anthony Davis did so much for the Lakers that I think low IQ basketball fans don't get. He was not only a big that can give you 25 and 30 a night, right? He's a 3-level scorer, right? He could score back to the basket. He could knock it down at the elbow. He could stretch out a defense to 3, but he's also a rim protector. He's also a guy who he makes the offense, the opposing team, think twice before putting a shot up within 5 feet of the basket. He's a guy who he covered 2 spots. Whether he played the 5 or whether he played the 4, he covered for 2 positions. He was very valuable to the Lakers. He's the reason why the Lakers won a championship during the bubble. I know people don't want to give them credit for the pandemic championship. They want to say it's a Mickey Mouse ring. And I get that to some extent, but you still have to give them credit for that. But Anthony Davis is why they won that championship. And when you trade him for a defensive liability, who can score inefficiently, Luka has always been that guy to me who's like the Houston James Harden, right? He can give you 30 or 40, but he's going to take 35 shots to get it, 25 shots to get it. You know what I mean? So it's like, he scores a lot, but he takes a lot of shots too. He's a black hole on the offensive end. He doesn't really get other guys involved, right? And the low IQ basketball fan will see a few highlights on SportsCenter. They'll see a fancy pass and think, "Oh man, he's a great facilitator." Or they'll look at the stats, right, and they'll say, "Oh man, he had 9 assists. He's a great," but he's not a great facilitator. He's a black hole. He's a stand back and watch me dribble, and 20 seconds off the shot clock, I'm going to drop it off to you if I don't have a dumb 3 to take with 4 seconds left, and you're going to bail me out with a 3. That's Luka. And he gets exposed a lot come playoff time because when playoff basketball start, being a great scorer is only 50% of the equation. For him, is probably more than that because he has to do 3 things. Yes, he has to score and provide a bulk offensively for the Lakers, but he also has to facilitate. He has to make players around him better. If he played off ball, the 3 or 2, I wouldn't be as critical. But when you decide you want to play the point guard, and not only play point guard, playing point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers, for an organization that has the history of, the Jerry West and the Magic Johnson, who's arguably the greatest point guard in NBA history. That's the organization that you're a point guard for now, and you're just really just showing critics like myself that we're right. We're right. The reason why the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka was because in the finals last year against the Boston Celtics, Boston played 5-on-4 basketball every time Luka was on the court. And that's just not someone that ownership, and anyone who thinks about sports from a ownership. See, I think about things because I'm an entrepreneur, because I'm a business owner. I look at things from ownership, right? And if I'm gonna have a guy that's due for $350 million, $400 million, right, the supermax, I'm gonna need a guy who actually shows up when it's time to show up, right? We all know Kyrie Irving and Derek Lively took them to the finals last year, right? And in the finals, when you need your 1A guy, right, who is Luka, right, who was Luka, you need him to show up. You need him to be present on the defensive end of the court. Doesn't have to be a lockdown guy. You don't have to be Gary Payton or Bruce Bowen or anything like that, but you need to at least make the effort defensively, right? Crying to the ref on every miss, only being engaged if you are able to touch the ball, playing, matador defense and allowing guys like Derek White to look like Allen Iverson, right? It just isn't beneficial. And because of it, Minnesota is going to win this series easily. The Lakers didn't have a chance going into the playoffs, even though the national media and the LeBron fanboys and the Luka fanboys online would have you believe the Lakers were going to be a threat in the playoffs. They never were. Cut it out. Next series, we got the 4-5 matchup. And this is one of my favorite matchups in the playoffs, man. As a former hooper, the Clippers, 5 seed, the Nuggets, 4 seed. This is incredible basketball right here. This is the creme de la creme of playoff basketball. You got Jokic playing out of his mind right now, as he always does. But you have Kawhi Leonard staying healthy, man. And he's really putting up a real fight right here, man. And this is what I wanted as a basketball fan, right? You got James Harden giving you 22, 8, and 8 assists. Zubac is petting up around 13 boards a game. But let's look at Jokic, man. 29.6 points per game in this series, 10.2 assists per game, 12.7 rebounds. Understand what Nikola Jokic is doing right now, man, he's on a historic run right now. And he's doing things to where, like, his greatness is being looked at as if it's an average, ordinary thing that anyone should be able to do, but it's not, man. Like, he's putting up numbers right now that are insane. And they're just going back and forth, man. The series is tied 2-2. Denver won game 1, 112-110. Then the Clippers came back the next game, 105-102, beat them in Denver. Series goes back to LA, right? The Clippers killed them 117-83, and they were up 2-1. And then on Saturday, this past Saturday, they had a game in LA, downtown. Clippers lost to Denver 101-99. That game could have went either way. And I just love the back and forth fervor of these two offenses. Like, I mean, it's great defense late, and it's just a nose-to-nose offensive juggernaut, man. The matchup between Zubac and Jokic is insane, and you got Gordon and Porter trying to figure out what to do with the claw, and you got Harden and Murray going at it, man. And it's just, this is what basketball is supposed to be about at the professional level. And whichever team wins this is the team that's going to battle OKC for the West. I really think Denver and the Clippers are the second and third best teams, even though the records don't really say that. I think these are the 2 and 3 best teams in the league after, and you can interchange them however you want to, because they were so close at the spots, right? But in this series right here, it's going to be a 7-game series, right? And I think whoever wins this series, this is the one series all playoffs that I can look at and say, man, it's so hard to pick one. It's so hard because neither team is just better than the other team. They're both deep teams. Both of these teams go 8-9 guys deep. And it's just, man, it's just whoever gets going on the right night. Now, I will say in game 3, I was convinced the Clippers were just going to dominate the rest of the way because game 1 was close, 2-point differential. Game 2 was close, 3-point differential. Game 4 was close, 2-point differential in the final score. Game 3, Clippers win 117-83. Man, this was a blowout. And I'm like, man, if the Clippers can duplicate this, what can the Nuggets do? But they come back and they fight. They don't lay down. They don't give up. They fight. Game 5 is going to be very telling. It's going to be back in Denver. So they go back to Colorado for game 5. Man, I predict the Clippers winning game 5. And the real series is going to be on May 1st. It's going to be game 6. The Clippers are going to come into this game up 3-2, and this is when the Clippers can close them out. What Denver decides to do, if they push it to a 7, game 7, if necessary, is going to be in Denver. Denver wins that series, I think, if it goes 7. So if it goes 6, give it to the Clips. If it goes 7, give it to Denver. All right. And I believe that is all of the playoffs. Yeah, that actually is. So that's every round. That's every matchup, rather. We're still in round 1. And this is going to be a very interesting rest of the way in the playoffs. I'm glad that basketball is back on the forefront. I know we had the NFL draft this past weekend, but basketball is in a great space right now, man. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Unbiased Sports Conglomerate. If you have any thoughts, comments, or concerns, please comment them below. If you're still listening, man, thank you guys so much. Be sure to follow my Facebook page. I'll put the link in that below. And as always, it's the USC CEO CJ, and I'm out. Peace.